So just doing a recap of what we have done on day one. In that recap, we are looking at the key steps of conducting systematic review. In that, the first step is to identify the research question, the research topic. That's followed up with identifying the databases that you will search, and then you build your search strategy on those databases. Primarily, as a starting point, you can use PubMed and Google Scholar that we had discussed. You can use Ovid, you can use Medline, you can then go for other search databases that we have discussed from Science Direct, Sinahil, and then Web of Science, and then so on. You can also go to Cochrane for that matter. Now, then once you have done the search, then you will download the search results in a referencing software. We will show you how to download today. And then you will use it on online tools like Rayyan for ease of use. Now, apart from that, you will, once you have downloaded that, then you will identify article, you'll do the screening process based on the title and the abstract. You will remove the duplicates, and then you will go a full text review. From the full text review, you will apply data extraction forms, extract the data. You will also do a risk of bias analysis at this point, and then you will go for a qualitative analysis of the articles that you have. Now, after that, you will do a quantitative analysis, which we call the meta-analysis. We will cover meta-analysis on day 3 and day 4. We will cover things up till here, from here to here on day 1 and day 2. We have covered some part of it on day 1. Now we'll cover some part of it on day 2. So that's the strategy. We discussed what a Prisma flow diagram is. We went in detail. We looked at the Prisma checklist yesterday. We went in detail. We discussed in search strategy, Boolean operators, mesh terms. We then applied it, all of these things on PubMed. And we also looked at the search strategy that was in the case study that we are applying for the meta-analysis. We shared this case study and this link with you guys yesterday. It's in the WhatsApp group. In case any one of you joined later, we can share it again with you, no problem. We discussed some of the online search tools that are out there yesterday. This is again the Prisma checklist. We went in detail through the Prisma checklist. We told you guys about the Equator Network and how Equator Network supports not just Prisma, but multiple, it has multiple for different study designs, all the reporting guidelines. We then discussed how data extraction forms, what should be part of the data extraction form. For this, we used the Cochrane handbook. And then we discussed how you can use Google Forms, Covidence software, RevMan, spreadsheets. And then that brings us to day 2. So I hope all of you are here. All of you are now ready to start off on day 2. So in day 2, the first thing that we'll discuss is the risk of bias. So what is risk of bias? Basically, bias is error that is a non-random error that is committed when you are doing a study. Now, that error can be done at the inception. That error can be done, inception means that error can be done at the designing of the study. That error can be done at the conducting of the study, and that error can also be done at the time of analysis. Now, the thing is, we have no control, absolutely no control on the primary studies that we receive in the systematic review. So some of those studies might have large sample sizes, some of them have small sample sizes. Some of them might be randomized, some of them might not be randomized, some of them might use blinding, some of them might not use blinding. Now, problem is when we combine all of these studies to develop summary statistics or to develop summary understanding, there is an inherent problem with this, that the individual biases of these studies will cloud our judgment, and we will not be able to come up with accuracy of results. The validity of the findings that we bring will not be good enough. So, in order to reduce the risk of bias of individual studies on the overall systematic review and meta analysis, we do a assessment of risk of bias. Now, like I said, there might be problems with the designing and in the execution of individual studies, and then that can have an effect on the overall validity of those studies. Now, there could be multiple biases from selection bias to performance bias to detection bias to attrition bias, reporting bias. So, primarily, the tool that we use for assessing risk of bias is the Cochrane Risk of Bias Assessment tool. And it's the version 2 that we use these days. And it primarily has 7 domains. Those 7 domains are sequence generation, allocation concealment, blinding of participants, blinding of outcome assessment, incompleteness of data, selective outcome reporting, and then other sources of potential bias. So a lot of these things are covered in detail in the Cochrane Risk of Bias Assessment tool. We are going to do a hands-on on Cochrane Risk of Bias Assessment tool just now. So what I will do is that I'll stop sharing the presentation. I'll take you to the Cochrane Risk of Bias Assessment tool, ROB2. And then what we'll do is that we'll also look at the visualization of this risk of bias assessment tool, which is basically a web app that we use for the risk of bias. We can visualize the risk of bias assessment in this. And then we can come up with visualizations like the traffic light plot for domain level judgment or the weighted bar plot for distribution of risk of bias judgment. And we are going to do that just now as we go through it. What I will do just now is that I will share with you the link for the visualization. So I'll just stop sharing this and I will share with all of you the link of the Cochrane visualization tool. So I have now put it in the chat box. I am also sending it to the WhatsApp group that we have. One second, please. So first and foremost, what we will do is that we will look at the Cochrane risk of bias tool. So, and then we'll look at other risk of bias tool as well, because it's not the only risk of bias tool. So, okay, so now all of you can see my screen. I hope all of you can also see this. Basically, there is a whole guideline for risk of bias assessment tool. You can also look through guideline. Here, I'm just sharing the tool, the Word version of it, and then we'll go and we'll look at the visualization tool as well. I have a bit of a flu, so my apology if my voice is not clear. So you can easily find this tool. We will share this tool as well in the WhatsApp group, so you don't have to worry about it. So the Cochrane Risk of Bias tool is primarily for intervention studies. And within intervention studies, this tool has 3 versions. One version is for randomized parallel group trials. The other is for cluster randomized parallel group trials. And the last version is for individual randomized crossover trials. Now, just showing you the grid here. So for the purpose. So you fill this tool for every study that you include as part of the systematic review. For the purpose of this assessment, the interventions being compared are defined as experiment. What is the experiment and what is the comparator? So what is the intervention? What is the comparison? And then what is the outcome that is being assessed? You mention it here. What also any specifically any numerical result that you would like to point out? Is the review team aim for this result? So what is the type of analysis that was done? Was it an intention to treat analysis? What is a per protocol analysis? These are part of the intervention studies that were included as part of systematic review. I'll not go into the details of these. If the aim of the study is to assess the effect of the intervention, so select the deviations that might have happened. So deviation from the protocols, failure to implement the intervention, non-adherence to the assigned intervention. So these are the details of what type of deviations can happen in those individual studies. Um, Not specific to mixed method, no. The Cochrane tool is primarily for numerical trials, not qualitative trials. For qualitative trials, there are other tools. We'll go into the details of this. Let me just go through first the Cochrane tool. And then you need to then define what is the source of data. So you're taking journal articles or you're taking some other thing, whatever it is that you're taking into the study. And then you start to ask questions about allocation and concealment, sequence generation. So whether or not any of that was done. Yes, it was done. No, it was not done. So, and then you mention it here in the tool, and then you go through the tool of allocation concealment, then did the baseline differences between intervention groups suggest a problem with the randomization? So, was there generally a difference in the baseline of both the groups in the intervention? Similarly, you can also look at the risk of bias using this algorithm that they have given. So, what is high risk? What is some concern? What is low risk? So, how are they affiliated with all of these these three different allocation sequence concealment, random allocation, baseline imbalance. So you go into the details of this. I'm not going into the details of the tool. I would like to show you the tool itself, the visualization of the tool itself. Now, apart from this, were the second part of this is the domain two, which is the risk of bias due to deviation from the intended interventions. So, were the participants aware of their assigned intervention during the trial? Were carriers and people delivering the intervention aware of the participants assigned to the intervention? So here they're talking about blinding. And then if yes in 2.1, then were the deviations from the intended interventions that arose because of the trial context, maybe the context in which you are implementing, you had to deviate from the main protocol. Were these deviations likely to have affected the outcome? Uh, yes and no. If yes, then were these deviations from intended interventions balanced between the group? So were the deviations in both groups or just one group? Was an appropriate analysis used to do to estimate, for example, any confounders were adjusted or something like that? Was a per protocol, a naive per protocol analysis done, or was a as treated analysis done? As treated analysis is done in which the trial participants are grouped according to the interventions that they received rather than according to the assigned intervention. So those are the two main types of analysis that you see. Was there potential for a substantial impact on the result of the future of analysis? So whatever the deviation that you saw, did that have an effect on the overall final results? And based on the algorithm, what is the final risk of bias judgment for this study? Was it a low, a high, or some risk? So that you can mention how you can use the algorithm. And simply a low risk is defined as low risk of bias in part one and low risk of bias in part two is considered as low risk. Some risk in either part of one or in part two is considered as some risk. Even if one domain, for example, 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, any one of them has some risk, then you define it as some risk. And then high risk is if you have high risk in either part one or part two. So in domain one or domain two, if you have high risk, then you classify it as high risk, the overall study as high risk. So these are the three. So this is the primary algorithm. And for question one, this is how we define low risk. So if the participant is aware of the intervention, no, or probably not, yes, probably yes. So then you need to answer it based on the algorithm, and so then you can easily get the answer. So I hope this tool is clear. I'm sharing this. We will share this tool as well. I want you to go here. We have tried to go briefly through the tool, but as you go again and again through the tool, and the best way to use this tool is that you read in detail the tool and then you apply it on the study. For example, the case study that we have given you, all of you apply it on the case study, and then when you have a question, come back to us, and then we will answer for this tool in that regard. So this is the Cochrane risk of bias tool, right? Now, if you go through it, you have to go apply this tool one by one on every study, every primary study that you have as part of your review. Now, with that being said, once you have gone through the tool and you have applied it on every study that you have as part of your meta-analysis and systematic review, then you will go towards something called as visualization. Now, when you are to do a data visualization of the tool will look something like this, as you can see on the right side of my screen. Dr. Amir, can you please confirm if you can see the browser, the Google Chrome?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes. It's
So
visible.
I've shared the link. This is the raw WIS, which is basically the risk of bias visualization tool. We have already shared the link with you guys here. Now, as you go into this, what we will do is that you can come here and you can download this data set, ROB 2.0 data set. You can download this sample data set here. All of you, please do that. Please download the risk of bias data set from here. This is a sample data set, and I'll just show you what this data set is. This is the example data set that once you download, this is what you will find. Basically, it says study one on domain one, domain two, domain three, four, and five. What is the risk? So is the risk low? Is the risk some concern? Is there no information? And is there high risk? So whatever risk is there, they're mentioned for study one, for domain one, what is the risk? For study two, domain one, two, three, four, and five, what is the low risk? And then what is the overall risk for this study? This is the type of grid that you will develop, right? Once you have developed a grid, say you have included 9 studies, this is just sample data. So once you download the data set, this is exactly the downloaded data set from here, from the risk of bias visualization tool. This is the downloaded data set. As you go here, as I told you, download this risk of bias data set. Now, once you have done that, then you can go back to this tool and you can upload your data. So when you do your own study, you can upload your data. As you click on upload your data, please follow my lead. In case you have a problem in following my lead, tell me and then I'll repeat again. So as you click on the upload data, it says select the assessment tool. You click here and then it gives you different options. So this is risk of bias assessment tool one. This is the other risk of bias tools that are available at the Cochrane visualization portal. We can discuss all of these tools later, but primarily the tool that we use for RCTs is the risk of bias tool. So for the sake of simplicity and for the sake of workshop, we'll just use this. So risk of bias to 2, we'll click here. The next thing it will say load your data. So what I'll do is I'll browse my data, and browsing my data, I will go to the risk of bias to example just to put it here, and I'll click open. Now you can see the same data that you were seeing on my Excel sheet, exactly same data is now being visualized here. And this is just a grid pattern. It is showing that. All of you can see this. Now, as part of the study, as part of the meta-analysis that you do, you can make this data available in the NXGER. But you can also make the visualizations available as part of the study. How you can do that? You come down and then you can click on generate plots. You come down and on the left side, you will see generate plots. As you click on generate plots, you will see one summary plot and two traffic light plot. So the first thing that you're seeing is the traffic light plot. What it is doing is that it is showing different domains of the risk of bias. And what are these domains? Primarily, these are the domains. Domain one is the risk of bias. If there is any issue with the randomization process, that is called as uh, a risk because of randomization. If there is any deviation from the intended intervention, that is domain two. If there is any deviation due to missing outcome data, if there is any missing outcome data, that is domain three. If there is any bias in the measurement of the outcome, means that the measurement of the outcome, how it was done, there is some issue with it. And domain five, bias in the selection of the reported results. Now, you can easily look up your article and then you can define at what, in which domain the article has an issue, but then you have to go through the full text for that. And within each domain, then you have to define whether there is no information available, whether there is low risk of bias, whether there is some concern, or whether there is high risk of bias for every domain. Now, as you mentioned, for every domain, as you can develop an Excel sheet like this. So low, some risk, no risk, right? Uh, and you put it in the data visualization tool, and you will get something like this. And then you can obviously download this and use so it gives the download option with a PNG file. You can download it as well. So you can see that overall, for approximately 5 of the studies in the 9 studies have a high risk of bias. But you don't just have to stop there. You can also look at summary plots. So if I look at the summary plot, what it shows is that for the 5 domains, for domain number one, which is the risk of bias, which is arising from the randomization process, what I can see is that there is low risk for majority of the studies. This is, think of it like 100%. So you can see here, it is a percentile. So 100%, out of that 100%, how many studies have low risk? So approximately 70% of the studies have low risk. Similarly, bias due to deviation from the intended interventions, approximately 55-60% of the studies have low risk. When we think of the bias from the deviation of the intended studies. Again, you can download this plot from here. Similarly, bias due to missing outcome data, so that's around 50%. Bias in the measurement of the outcome, that's around 80%. And then bias in the selection of the reported results, that's around 80%. So that's the overall percentage of the risk that we see here in our, and what is the overall bias. So if you see, even though individually for individual domains the bias is not high, but for the overall domains the bias is high. You can easily develop it for your meta-analysis. In case the risk of bias was not done this comprehensively previously, when the study was done, when the meta-analysis was done, then that also gives a strong rationale for you to repeat the meta-analysis. Now, with that being said, let me come back to the presentation. So we discussed 7 domains of the risk of bias tool, the Cochrane risk of bias tool. We went through the tool, the ROB2 tool. You can go through the other tools as well. You can fill out individual forms for every study that you have, and then you can keep it with you as a as a proof for when the journal asks for it. We have a question by Kinza Malik. Yes, Dr. Kinza, please go ahead.
Sir, I have a question. Uh, the initially you showed a document of Cochrane, right?
Yes.
So I just got confused. Initially, we are going to upload our data in this ROBS tool, right? And then we'll get the assessment of high risk, low risk, and the checklist you showed, like the Cochrane long assessment, when that is going to be utilized after running this robust tool. We have to fill that on our own, or the software is going to do. So
Okay,
got confused in that.
sure.
Can you please explain?
So this ROB-VIS, which is the risk of bias visualization tool, this is just a visualization tool, right? But the assessment, how do you define something as low risk, some risk, or high risk? How do you define that? For that, you will have to use the Cochrane risk of bias tool. Go through the Cochrane risk of bias tool, you will understand for every domain what is the risk of bias. And this is just one tool of Cochrane. There are multiple risk of bias tools for Cochrane. Choose the risk of bias tool based on the primary studies that you have included. If you have included trials, then you will use the risk of bias tool too. Now, as you go through this tool, you will fill out the risk of bias tool, um, this one, this tool, right? This is just a crib sheet. There is even a description. Um, there is a full guidance. So this is, I hope all of you can see this. This is a guidance document on how to use the tool as well. You can go through this guidance document as well. It's a long document, 70-80 page. What that will do is this document will give you an idea on how risk of bias is being assessed. So risk of bias judgment, how that is done, low risk, some risk, high risk, right? This gives you a domain level judgment. This gives you an understanding. Now, within this, um, but you have to fill this sheet, this risk of bias sheet for individual study. Say you have 9 studies in your meta-analysis. You will fill it for every study. Once you have done it, then you will develop an Excel sheet, something like this. So for domain 1, what is the risk? Low risk, high risk, whatever. For domain 2, for domain 3, domain 4, domain 5, for study number 1. Then you will do the same for study number 2. Then 3, then you will go to up to study, whatever studies that you have. And the overall risk for individual study, what was that? Once you have developed this grid based on the Cochrane tool, the Cochrane guide, and the Cochrane tool, which you can easily, all you have to do is just search for Cochrane risk of bias, and you will get these tools. These are freely available tools. You will get it from the Cochrane website. We will share it as well in the group. Don't worry about it. As you apply these sheets onto your primary study, you will build this Excel sheet. Once you have built this Excel sheet, then you will go to the Cochrane visualization tool, and on the visualization you will then apply you will upload the Excel sheet, and then you will get the summary plot, or you will get the traffic light plot, whatever it is. Then you can download it, and then you can make it available as part of your main article. The sheets that you have developed, you will save those sheets. Why? Because you will keep them as a proof, so that if the journal asks for it, you should have them. I hope that answers the question. So,
Yes, sir. Thanks a
okay,
lot.
yeah. And so this gives you an idea of So we have tried to give you an idea of the Cochrane risk of bias assessment tool. We have tried to give you an idea of the visualization that you can do of the risk of bias, and you can make it available as part of the review paper. Now, what if the primary study is cohort, case control, or cross-section? So then you will apply another tool which is called as the Newcastle-Ottawa scale. So what you will do is you will go to the Newcastle-Ottawa scale. You can search for the Newcastle-Ottawa scale as well. You can easily find the Newcastle-Ottawa scale. This is the presentation. Let me just show the scale. This is the Newcastle-Ottawa scale. I hope all of you can see this. Now, as you look at the Newcastle-Ottawa scale, in this, they use something called as a steric or a star pattern. So a study can be awarded a maximum of 1 star for every numbered item within the selection. For example, so the first domain is selection. You're looking at how the participants were selected. So is the case definition adequate? If yes, you give it 1 star. If no, you give it no stars. You don't have to mention the scale on Prospero. Do we use the scale for Prospero is just a registration tool for your meta-analysis or systematic review. Prospero only use Prospero for registrations. Risk of bias is something completely different from Prospero. So we have covered the risk of bias for initially for this intervention studies. Now we are looking at the risk of bias for case control studies or cohort studies. You can do that. So you can identify, you can see the Newcastle-Ottawa quality assessment scale for these studies, search for it, you will easily find it. So the first domain for this is selection. So in selection, there are some questions, representativeness of the cases. If they are representative, then yes, you'll give it a star. So maximum you can give 4 stars. So first question 1. So the maximum there are 4 stars that you can give in selection. In comparability, you can give maximum 2 stars. And in exposure, you can give maximum 2 stars, 4 stars again. And similarly for cohort studies, you can award 1 star for each. So what you will do is that you will use this tool as a checklist. The primary study that you have, you will open the primary study, and then the primary study, you will ask these questions. You will use the checklist. So you will fill this tool for every primary study. Once you have done that, then you will build a grid. A grid will be something like this. So for example, this is the first cohort study that you took. And in the selection category, how the participants were selected, the first study got 4 stars. You can easily build this on Excel or Word, whichever you like. And then for comparability, they got 2 stars. For outcome, they got 3 stars, the first study. For the second study, how many stars they got? And in this way, you will build a whole grid pattern of the risk of bias. And then you will make it available as part of your study, as part of your meta-analysis. You can do it for cohort, you can do it for case control studies. In cohort studies, you will look at the outcome, which is the last. So selection comparability. So this is the main group that you're looking at, and then this is the comparison group, and then this is the outcome. In cohort, we are looking at the outcome. In case control, we already have the cases, so we already have the outcome. So we are looking at the exposures. So selection, comparability, and exposure. I hope there is clarity on how we do risk of bias assessment for observational studies. In case you are doing analytical cross-sectional study, you have taken them as part of this, so you can apply that as well here. Um, so I hope we are clear on the risk of bias assessment. If you have any question on the risk of bias, please let me know. Otherwise, we can move forward to other stuff that we have to cover. If there is any question, you can put it in the chat box as well.
Sir, can I ask a question?
Yes, please go ahead.
Sir, for case control, we have exposure, and for cohort, we have outcome. So, what
Yeah.
about the cross-sectional? In cross-sectional, usually we see a snapshot or the prevalence. So, in that case, what would be our heading? Outcome would be
Yes.
prevalence, or maybe like, mainly cross-sectional deals with the prevalence or snapshot.
So in order for it to be an analytical cross-sectional study, it needs to have two groups. It needs to have a group that you are trying to compare with. So there has to be some form of comparison. Otherwise, it cannot be analytical. So, and in that, primarily, what is the outcome that you're looking at? You can see for it. But like I said, these tools are primarily built for cohort and case control studies. They're not primarily built for cross-section studies, but you can use this cohort tool for that. What I'm trying to say here is what you're seeing here in this grid is just the visualization of the risk of bias. The tool itself, as you can know, is not this. The tool is this for document that shows the Newcastle Tower scale. The checklist is the primary tool. Don't confuse the visualization with the tool. A lot of time what happens is people start to assume that the visualization is the tool. The visualization is not the tool. Visualization is just a visual representation of that tool. So I hope there is clarity on that. And in case you require more clarity, you guys can always ask in the WhatsApp group. With that being said, let's move to the other tool that we are going to cover. So one other tool that I would really like to cover today is the Rayyan. And before we delve into the qualitative analysis of the systematic review, let's just go into what is Rayyan. So Rayyan is a web-based systematic review tool. It is designed to facilitate the screening and collaboration process in systematic reviews. So before I do anything else, I will just take this link and I will put it in the chat box. And I will also put it in the, so all of you can access this. I will also put it in the WhatsApp. Okay. So it's a web-based systematic review tool, which is designed to facilitate the screening and collaboration process in systematic reviews and meta-analysis. It offers features to streamline the selection of relevant studies, extraction of data, management of the review process. So think of Ryan like a management and a screening tool for your systematic review. It will speed up the process. It will help you in collaborating because there are normally two reviewers when you come up with the final studies, you apply two reviewers in that. So that's there. So study screening, collaborative workflow, so you can do study screening. There is a collaborative workflow. You can customize the review forms here. You can look at duplication of studies. You can remove the duplicates. You can filter your results here in Ryan. You can also integrate it with external database. For example, you can take stuff from PubMed, Embase, Cochrane, and you can put it in Ryan. You can import and export the reports from Ryan. And then reviewers can generate summary reports on visualization to present the findings of the systematic review. So in this way, it's a very comprehensive tool for qualitative systematic reviews. It speeds up the qualitative process. Now, what I have done here is that I have shown I've given in the presentation two YouTube links as well. You can go through these YouTube links, which are basically tutorials of Rayyan. Now what we'll do is that we'll go and do a hands-on exercise on Rayyan. So what I'll do is I will just go to my browser, and in my browser I will just write Rayyan.ai, and I will come here. So as I come here on Rayyan, it says get started. So I'll click on get started. You can just sign in as well, and then you can sign in. I have already signed in previously, so I'll just use my account here. So let me, my account. Okay, so let me just sign in again. So, so I'll just put in the password. So I'll stop sharing for 1 second so that I can put in the password. You guys can also register yourself just now as I'm doing it. I am putting in the password. You guys can just register using your Google account. It's very easy to do it. So you can just go to Ryan and you can use the tool. Let me just 1 second, please. Let me just open the tool and then I can show you how it is. Ryan is overall a free tool, and I hope all of you are able to register with your account. So I'm just registering again for some reason. 1 second, please. I hope all of you are registering yourself with me. In case you are having a problem, please let me know. Okay, so now I'm back on the portal. So let me just share again. Apology, I had to stop sharing for a while because I was just putting in the passwords. Okay, so as you go to Rayan, this is what you will see. You will see a home page like this. How many of you were able to come up to a home page? Please raise your hands so that this will really guide us. How many of you were able to register and come up to this page? Please have a show of hands in case any one of you was unable. So just go on the link and register and then come to this home page. I need a show of hands so that I can move forward. Amir, were you able to do this? Hafza, Kinza, Laiba, Noreen,
Yes, sir, I
Neelam.
am doing it.
Okay, just register and come
Yes,
here
sir.
to the homepage.
Sure.
Once you guys come to the homepage, then we can move forward. This is an old version of Rayyan. They have now a new version. You can click here to go to the new version as well. So this is a new version. If all of you are able to come here to the homepage, please let me know. If any one of you is having a problem, please let me know. Let me solve that for you. Please confirm if any one of you is able to register. If you are having a problem with registration, let me know. Or else we can move forward as well. I'll give you guys 3 to 4 minutes. Just register and then we can come here. Yes, Amir.
Yes, sir, I have registered.
Okay, great. I hope all of you are following through. There's something in the chat box done with registration. Thank you, Dr. Sumera. Noreen, you have also done it. Thank you. I hope a lot of you were able to register. Sadia has also done it. Thank you. Who else? We have got a good cohort of people who have been able to come here. But the reason why I'm waiting for everyone to come here is because if you are unable to understand, you don't have to worry about it. The tutorials that I've given in the presentation, they will also guide you. You can easily look at those tutorials, and those tutorials will also help you in case you are unable to do it right now. Those tutorials are very easy. You can easily learn how to use Rayyan. Rayyan is very simple, drag and drop systematic review management system. Okay. So we need to move forward in the interest of time. Yes, we'll share the presentation today. I was supposed to share it yesterday. We forgot actually. So I'll just share it today. But we shared the recording yesterday. So you can go back to the recordings and look at the recording as well. We'll share the recording of this session as well from today. So you don't have to worry about it. We'll put it in the same Google Drive link. So you won't require a new link. Every day the Zoom link is the same. Every day the Google Drive link will be the same. We will even put the presentation of the final presentation that we have in the Google Drive link. So it will be the same Google Drive link for everything for this workshop. So now, as we are here, so I'll just move forward now in the interest of time. You can click on New Review, and then you can give it a title. Now, before we do all that, let's just go to PubMed first and then get some data. Okay. So I want all of you to just go to PubMed like I'm going right now. Are you all on PubMed? Now on PubMed, just go on advanced search. And in advanced search, you can write down infant mortality and just add it to the search. Don't worry about mesh terms right now. We are doing just this to learn how to use Rayyan. Don't worry about the perfection of your search strategy right now. So you go to PubMed, you go to advanced search, you write infant mortality, and then you write with and you will add, say, a term like uh, kangaroo mother care. Mother care is like this, and you will add it. So kangaroo mother care, infant mortality and kangaroo mother care. We are right now doing a systematic review on the use of kangaroo mother care on infant mortality, and these are the two key search terms that we have. And then you click on search. I hope all of you are able to follow through because right now you guys are not in front of me, so I don't know. And in this, I'll just remove everything, all the filters. So you have around, and I keep the results from the year 2000. So we have 233 results from the year 2000 till 2024. Okay. Now what I will do is I will download all these references, these 233 references. How? I'll click on send to, and on send to, I'll click here on citation manager. I went on send to, and then I clicked on citation manager. I hope all of you were able to do the search. All you have to do is search for infant mortality and kangaroo mother care. If you do go to advanced search, write infant mortality, and then write and then kangaroo mother care. Once you do that, you will get 233 results. Click on send to, click on citation manager. And on the citation manager, it gives the selection. Click here on all results. Okay, so you go on PubMed. You have already opened your Rayyan you have the homepage of Rayyan already available. You go on PubMed, you search this, and then you got some results. Now you went to send to and citation manager, and in that it gave you option, and then you went on all results, right? And then you create a file. As you click on create a file, it will save that file. So I'll just save that file on desktop for the sake of understanding. And as I save that file, now what I'll do, I now have a file that has 233 references for the systematic review that I'm doing, which is on kangaroo mother care and infant mortality, right? Now I'm going on Rayyan, and the title of my systematic review is Kangaroo Mother Care and Infant Mortality. The next drop down, I'm now on Rayyan. You can just write down what I'm writing down once you have saved the reference file on your desktop. After you have put the title, then research field, you can just write down medicine and human health, review type, systematic review domain, again, biomedical is the domain, right? Review description, just copy paste the title and put it in the description. There's no need to put a description just for the sake of argument we are doing this. How many of you have been able to do this up till now? That you did the PubMed search and advanced search, you were able to download the references, all the references 233, and then you were able to fill this on the title. Can please all of you please confirm here with a show of hands? You can show of hands, or you can please confirm. So Amir is saying done, good. How many else have been able to do this? Once you have copied what I've just written here, then I will just create the review. I'm waiting for at least 5 to 7 people to say yes. So up till now, 2 people have said yes. 3 people have said yes. So we are waiting for more people to. The primary purpose of today's session was to introduce you guys to number one, risk of bias tools and how to visualize risk of bias. All you have to do in order to save the file from PubMed, all you have to do is just when you click on PubMed, you go on send to, and then you go on citation manager, and then all the results. As you click on create file, it saves it in your computer. If in your browser you have put up the settings, then the file goes into documents or downloads. So go and look up in downloads, you will find the file. You don't have to open the file in EndNote. Like I said, don't worry about it. Just leave the file where it is. Just download the file and leave it where it is. But I'm not talking about EndNote right now. All that I'm talking about is come back to Rayyan and fill this. Fill this for your title, for your research field, for your review type, for your domain, and for your description. So up till now, approximately 3 people have done this. So we need more people to do this, 2 to 3 more people. And then once you have filled this, okay, so now we have good enough amount of people. 5 people have been able to do this. We'll click on create. This will create a review, right? Now the next thing is we have to upload the citation file that we have created. So my citation file is this one on, it's on desktop. So what I'll do is I'll just pick it from desktop. So how I will do that? I will go on Rayyan. I will click on select files and I will go on desktop. As I go on desktop, it will show me the PubMed files. So I have got multiple PubMed files. Let me just see which one of the PubMed files. If I click on P, it shows me the PubMed files. And you can also confirm what the file looks like by clicking here, clicking on download PubMed inform infant mort. That's the file that I have to go for. Okay. So I'll come here, go on desktop, PubMed infant mort. This is my file. So because I have multiple files, therefore I'm being particular about it. As I select this file, it goes through this uploading process, and then I click on continue. And then I see something like this. Do all of you see this? Can all of you please confirm if you have reached this point where you have uploaded your file on Rayyan? Okay, Amir has been able to do it. I hope others are also following through. I can only move forward once two, three people confirm on this. And once you put it here, you will now see what you're seeing, right? So now these are 233 results. You can see it here, right? All the 233 results are here. So even if some of them are not showing, they will come up later. Don't worry about it. They're all here. I can ask Ryan to detect duplicates. So I can just click on detect duplicates. So it has found 8 duplicates. So some of the duplicates that it has found, it has mentioned it here. So I can remove those duplicates or I can send them. So you can also, if so, let's just look at the what is the interface of Ryan. On the middle, you see these articles, which is quite similar to what you see on EndNote. You can detect duplicates. You can then compute a rating. You can export once you have done your work. Yes, you can copy some of the articles and you can move them to a new review as well. That is what you can do. If you look at the left side, you will see that there is possible duplicates unresolved are 8. So all of the filters are showing here. So if I click on these unresolved, these are the 8 duplicates. As you can see, there's a 96% duplicate, but I know it is not a duplicate. Why? Because look at the difference in the year. Similarly, look at here the difference in the year. Similarly, wherever the dates are the same, these are the publication dates. So therefore, I don't have to worry about these duplicates. You see, otherwise I can what I can do is I can maybe exclude these duplicates. I click here and then I can click on exclude, or maybe I click here and I can click on include, whatever. So whatever that I want to do, right? And after you're done with the duplicates, say I include this, I exclude this, this is maybe, this is include, right? And I do this. And I can then go on the overall. So these are the total undecided, which are there. These are the total references, which are there. I can also look at how many trials are there. So there are 47 trials. So I'll just stop clicking here. And there are numerous keywords that Ryan puts itself. So how many articles have the keyword randomized in it? These are the articles that have the keyword randomized in it. How many articles have the keyword trial in it? These 47 articles have the word trial in it. I can also add new keywords. For example, I can add the word kangaroo, mother care, and 198 articles have kangaroo mother care in it. I can also add, like, say, another word. I can add infant mortality in this, right? So multiple keywords I've added. If I click here, these I can also remove these keywords. These keywords, why are they important? They help me to filter my articles. If the title has trial written in it, there are 47 articles like this. What that does is, so I just want randomized trials. Say, I will just go for articles that have randomized trial written on it. So I'll just click on this. I'll remove the filter. I'll remove all the filters and only put on click on randomize. These are those articles, these 43 articles. You can see 43 being written here. Or I can choose multiple, like, and I can have trials plus I can have randomized. So now these are 59 in total. You can see here. Now the first article, if I want to include it, I can include. If I want to exclude the next article, I can exclude, and then I can go on and on. as part of this. Once I'm done with this, I've taken out uh, the the articles that I don't want. Then I can also, it also, this is also there's something called as a um, it showcases which one of the words are most repeated in the titles and the abstracts. So of the titles, which topic is the most? So infant, newborn, human, female, these are the most common words. Which are the most important? The larger the size of the word, the more the number of articles. Most articles are coming from US, India, London, UK, New Delhi, Washington, right? And then I can also choose which language I want. I only want English, I want Spanish, whatever I want, right? And then I can also choose what are these all journal articles? No. So what if I just want journal articles? So I'll just go for journal articles. So what this does is it is refining the articles that I have. I have now removed duplicates. I have included, excluded articles. I have gone for journal articles. I can maybe choose to put some authors or not some authors. Maybe I want some years. I want 2024, 2023, 2022, 2021. Maybe I don't want other years. Maybe I'm doing a follow-up review and I only want year 2021 till 2024, right? I want to exclude previous years. So I can exclude that as well. And once I've done it, so these are the final articles that I have. And what I can do is I can export them. I can export them in the form of EndNote file or a CSV file. It will include the decision, it will include the labels, right? The best thing is export as a CSV file. If I export, I will within minutes receive an email that will include the download link. So you can do that as well right now. And I will receive it on the email that I have. Let me just open. So I've just received the email as well. Um, so let me just go to my Gmail. This is Ryan. Your export is ready. I click here. I can click here to export the downloaded file. I download this file in my desktop. This is a CSV file. So what I will do is first I will extract it. It's a zip file. So I'll just extract all and I get this file. It gives me an EndNote file. I can open that EndNote file as well. Sorry, I opened an existing library. Let me just open a new library. I mistakenly, I think, opened, let me just open this EndNote file. And I can also look at the CSV file. The CSV file is here, so I can just wrap text it so I can understand what is there. But primarily, I was, sorry. So this is the EndNote file. Primarily, I need to open this file. Because maybe it's a previous version. I have a newer version of EndNote. So this is a previous file, so maybe that's why it is not opening in my EndNote. But otherwise, it easily opens in your EndNote. So now these are the articles that you can then easily use in your EndNote. So for example, say, let me just open an EndNote file just now for the sake of, this is not the same EndNote file that I downloaded, but I'm just opening an EndNote file to give you an understanding of what will happen. So This is the EndNote. This is the problem is that the files are of our older version, and I have uh, maybe why my version is old. So there's a version issue here. Otherwise, the files open up in EndNote very easily. So, but you guys get the drift, what we have done here, right? So in Ryan, we first did the all the review. Okay, there's one more thing also I need to show you in Ryan. What is that? If you click here on Ryan, on your name, and if you click on my account, there is a there's an issue with the link. Let me just register again. There's the issue that is coming up with Ryan, but normally there is generally no issue. Right now, I'm just facing that issue. But you guys understand what we did here was that we have downloaded the review, and then from that review that we downloaded from Ryan, we can open it in our EndNote file. We can also open it directly in a CSV file. So we can use the CSV file as that. And click here as well. There is a version issue with my EndNote, but if you have a low, like a EndNote, if you have an EndNote version 7, you will be easily able to open this. So you won't have any issue. Yeah, I might directly open yes. So, but for the sake of argument, let's just, so I don't want to spend more time on Ryan. I want to just give you guys a detailed version on Ryan. So right now my access to Ryan is also having an issue, bit of an issue. The link of Ryan is not working, but generally this is not a issue. You can easily do this. You can easily use it. So coming back to the presentation. So we also what you can do is these are the tutorial links for Ayan. You can go through these tutorial links. They will easily tell you how to do. So how to screen the study in Ryan, how to add collaborators in Ryan, how to also look where your review is. You can see the dashboard. Ryan gives you a dashboard. You can see what is the current status of your review, where you are headed with that. So with that being said, we have covered today, number one, risk of bias assessment from Cochrane, from Newcastle Ottawa scale, the visualization of risk of bias, and then the Ryan tool, we also covered that. We showed how to export into Ryan, how to filter out results, and then how to export them into EndNote. My EndNote version had an issue, therefore they were not opening up our EndNote, but you can easily open up on EndNote and then you can take it to your manuscript, whatever manuscript that you're developing for the systematic review. And that brings us to, you can also use EndNote for a similar thing. Yes, please, Sadia, go ahead.
Assalamualaikum. I have two questions. Firstly, I want to ask, I have no experience working with EndNote, but I've been using Mendeley. So can we do the same with
Yes,
Mendeley?
easily.
And
S-
secondly, I wanted to ask if we use PubMed as the search engine, but can we also use the same various searches from Embase and Cochrane
yeah,
and
yeah.
all and download
Mm,
them all to Ryan?
yes, you will download all of them to Ryan. You will create a single file on Mendeley or a single file on Eno, and then you can upload that file from all the search engines onto Ryan. You can upload separate files on Ryan as well for separate these separate databases. No worries. Yes, this is very easy. I'll share the link. Just go through these tutorials, these two tutorials I've given, 15-minute, 20-minute tutorials. They will give you a very good understanding of how to use Ryan. No problem. Okay. If you keep on doing this again and again, you will increase and improve in the using it. Right now, I have an issue. I have two multiple issues. One is the registration issue with Ryan, and the other is the my EndNote version. My EndNote version is 20, so it's a very high version. Normally, the previous EndNote files that I have, they don't open up in my version, so that sometimes becomes a big issue. With that being said, how do we do qualitative analysis? That's the last part of today's session. And then after this, we'll conclude today's session. And then I want all of you to go back and practice on Ryan today and practice on risk of bias assessment. So how do we do qualitative analysis? There are multiple methods that we can apply. So the total articles that we get, right? Finally, from Ryan, we put it in our EndNote file. And then of those total articles, we will then make grids. We will then make Word documents. You can also get summaries from Ryan. You can use it. You can also develop your own summary. So you can, in Ryan, you can export and summarize. As you have those summary tables of those articles, you will also have to write down your results. As you're writing down those results can be done using thematic analysis. So in thematic analysis, what we do is that we develop themes. How do we develop themes? Themes emerge by inductive coding. What is inductive coding? So say you have an article, you have 7 or 8 articles that you want to make as part of your review, right? So now what you do is the results of those articles, you first tabulate in the form of a table. I can develop a grid table tomorrow and show you guys what a grid table can look like in a systematic review. You can also go to the sample paper that we have given you and you can look up how a grid table looks like. But I can also give a template that will help you in building your own grid table. So whatever study that is included, what was the year of that study, what is the outcome measure in that study? Primarily, the grid table needs to have PICO in it. So participant, intervention, control, outcome, and study design. Okay. And then on top of that, so once you have those individual articles and you have developed those grids, you have developed those narratives for individual article, then what you will do is that you will iteratively code. What does that mean? Iteration means repetitively code. Repetitively, what you will do is, for example, I have one article, right? The article number one, and these are the results of those articles. I will code, for example, this article covers infant mortality. I'll code it as one. Another part of this article is kangaroo mother care. I coded as two. Within kangaroo mother care, they've looked at the social aspects of kangaroo mother care. I will code it as three. And then I will code all the articles like this. And then within that, I will say, okay, so the total codes that I developed at the end could be maybe 10. Of those 10 codes, okay, I will say the first, some of these codes are related to kangaroo mother care. Kangaroo mother care. So what I'll do is that code 2, code 5, and code 6 might be of Kangaroo Mother Care. So I will merge together all of them in a theme called as Kangaroo Mother Care. Similarly, some of the codes that I might develop, and this is an arbitrary process. As you understand that as you're going through primary studies, it is the right of the researcher to think about what code they want to give and what theme they want to develop. So in our case, the kind of article we had was on infant mortality and kangaroo mother care. So maybe we end up with two themes based on the codes that we develop on the articles that we have. And then we categorize the data into commonalities, right? You can do that. Or also you can do something called as deductive coding. Inductive coding is that you have your article. From that article, you read and then you devise codes, you develop codes, and then you merge those codes into themes. That's inductive coding. Deductive coding is that you first develop two themes or three themes. For example, my one theme is infant mortality, another theme is kangaroo mother care, right? And then I start to look for what I found regarding these themes in the article. So I do a deductive coding here, where predefined themes or theoretical frameworks guide my analysis. So I can do all of that. This is called as thematic analysis. The best way to learn how thematic analysis is done is just go and look up articles where they have applied thematic analysis. Thematic analysis is the most common type of qualitative analysis that is done in systematic reviews. And like I said, in thematic analysis, you can go for inductive coding or you can go for deductive coding, depends on what you want to go for, right? But that's not the only type of that's not the only type of analysis. There are other analysis, for example, but this is the most common type, thematic analysis. In qualitative analysis, you can also do narrative analysis, narrative synthesis. So in narrative synthesis, it involves summarizing and then narrating, which is describing the summaries of what you have found. So basically, what you can do is that you can develop textual descriptions or tables or diagrams. Like I just said that, you know what, I can give you guys a template of how you can develop a table. So say you develop a table of the articles. For example, this is the year of publication. This is the title. This is the main outcome measure. These are the participants. This is the intervention. These are the controls or comparison groups. These are so the outcome covers the key results. These are the key limitations, something like that. You don't have to give limitations because we cover a lot of those limitations in the risk of bias. You don't have to worry about that. But primarily when you are developing these tables, you have to focus on PICO, PICO, participant, intervention, control, and outcome. You can develop it like this. It may include exploration of relationships, narrative synthesis between study characteristics, interventions. You can add contextual factors as well in these tables. It depends on what you're trying to do. And like I said, a lot of this is arbitrary. It is not like a meta-analysis because this is very qualitative. It depends a lot on the researcher. The best way is look up previous literature and follow that. So we covered thematic analysis, we covered narrative synthesis. Narrative synthesis can be done along with thematic analysis in the same paper. It's not uncommon to see both. And then there is also, you can do something called as meta-ethnography. Meta-ethnography is basically, it's again a qualitative synthesis. And what it does is, in particularly in fields such as it is used in anthropology or in sociology, where you basically translate, compare, and synthesize concepts and interpretations across individual studies to develop higher order theories. Basically, social theories can be developed using this. But like I said, this is something that is meta-ethnography is more important for social science. But if you're doing a qualitative synthesis of results in your systematic review, a thematic analysis is the most common approach, and an inductive approach, inductive coding is the most common approach. With that, you can do some narrative synthesis as well. Yes, not to worry about it. If you're working with a systematic review in which you are working to develop a framework, say you are working with policy papers, or you are working doing policy evaluations, or you're working with complex interventions, you can do the analysis in the form of a framework. You can develop a framework. It combines elements of thematic and narrative synthesis. Yes. So I develop a framework. So these are the things, factors that result in these factors, and these factors then result in these factors. So all those things can be developed in the form of framework, and these factors are governed by these factors, these, and they are overall governed by these factors, something like that. And then if you have a framework, predefined framework as part of your review while you're doing it, for example, a kangaroo mother care stepwise approach, a stepwise approach of kangaroo mother care. So what I can do is, okay, how many articles follow step one? How many articles follow step two? How many articles follow step three? All of them. So I build a framework and I do the analysis using this framework. This is called a framework synthesis. This is again a very qualitative approach. And the last is integration with quantitative findings. This is what we generally do when we are doing a meta-analysis. When we do a meta-analysis, with the meta-analysis, we obviously write some qualitative findings as well. So qualitative analysis may be integrated with quantitative findings. What we normally do in this is we first do the quantitative synthesis, and then we try to contextualize it. We try to explore the heterogeneity. So we explain the heterogeneity. We also identify the interventions, and then we explain the interventions and the results. So these are the interventions that we found, even though they have been explained in the meta-analysis, but we basically integrate. So this is also a very common approach, integrating your qualitative findings with your quantitative findings. Now, we will be doing a lot of the quantitative findings in the meta-analysis, which will be day 3 and day 4, which will be tomorrow and day after. But primarily, sometimes if there is a lot of heterogeneity in the studies, we'll cover what heterogeneity is tomorrow. We might not be able to do a meta-analysis. Then we will just basically stop at thematic and narrative synthesis. That is what we do. So we have up till now covered uh, the risk of bias. Then we covered Rayyan. Then we covered qualitative analysis. So how do we do? What are the common types of qualitative analysis, thematic analysis, narrative analysis, and then integration with quantitative findings. Now we're gonna just look slightly into what is a Cochrane review. So Cochrane is basically a collaboration that was developed in 1993. Why? Because they wanted to streamline reviews. And imagine 1993, imagine people were doing reviews on paper. So Cochrane was developed to do these reviews, to standardize these reviews. Cochrane reviews are available on Cochrane Library. You can look up these Cochrane libraries easily. Uh, it has free access in almost most countries. In Pakistan, there's free access. You don't have to worry about it. Cochrane has a Cochrane handbook that you can use to learn how to do reviews. So you can look at Cochrane handbook. It is easily available online, freely available. The online version is freely available. You can buy the Cochrane handbook. Paid version is also available, but you can easily go online and you can go through the Cochrane handbook. The Cochrane reviews have a data synthesis which can be qualitative, and they can also be quantitative. In quantitative, they do meta-analysis in which we first do pooling of data. We will do all of this tomorrow and day after. We first pool the data, then we look at minimal differences between studies, we look at outcomes, We apply weights to different studies. We do subgroup analysis and we do sensitivity analysis. This is something called as a forest plot. This is just a example of a forest plot that is given. We'll describe forest plot in detail tomorrow. I am not going into detail of forest plot right now. Today, I want you guys to go and learn risk of bias, use Rayyan tool, use the ROB Viz tool of Cochrane. When we are publishing systematic reviews, we publish the Cochrane reviews in the Cochrane library, right? And there are certain rules to do that. You can easily look them up in the Cochrane handbook. When you are publishing your review in a journal, you don't necessarily need to go to the Cochrane library. You don't necessarily need to look at the Cochrane handbook. You can just use the Prisma statement. The Prisma guideline, which we covered, is good enough for you to do a systematic review. It has this 27 item checklist. We have already covered this, and then it has a flow diagram. You can just use the checklist to the Cochrane checklist, the Prisma checklist to submit your article. This is good enough. This is standardized. Obviously, you need to add the risk of bias, visualizations. Also, you need to properly do a thematic or a narrative analysis that you're doing, or a framework analysis. And obviously, if you're doing a meta-analysis, then the whole quantitative part of it. So that's the end of day 2. My apology, I have not been feeling well. I've been under the weather for the past day. So I hope my voice was clear. So till now, what we have done is that we have covered up till now search strategy, Prisma guideline, data collection forms. That was day 1. Day 2, we covered risk of bias. In day 2, we covered what are Cochrane reviews, general understanding, and then you can go through the Cochrane database for further understanding. We covered qualitative analysis of systematic reviews, and then we covered the Rayyan tool. That's all for day 2. Now, tomorrow we will go into meta-analysis, look at heterogeneity, Q-test, I-square, tau square, effect sizes. Tomorrow will be a lot of theory. And then what is fixed effect model, random effect model, forest plot. This is what we'll cover tomorrow. Subgroup analysis, sensitivity analysis, meta-regression, Peto method, mental Hansel method, inverse variance weighting, inverse observed exposure variance. And then that will be day 3. And then day 4 will be all hands-on, in which we have already shared the article with you. Let me share this article again just now with all of you. Please go through this article. This is the article we'll use on day 3 and day 4. We already gave this article to you guys on day 1. I will also share this presentation, this complete presentation with you today, the PDF version, so that you can use that as well. So with that, we conclude day number 2. I hope there is some clarity. You have a hand raised by Sadia. Please go ahead, Dr. Sadia. Maybe this was a previous hand raise. Regardless, I'll just now